Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indecision Cave Show. We are getting ready for Week 13.
He's not giving you the draft value that you've been looking for, period. And that's Ezekiel Elliot.
68, Denver, 16 for 81, 2 touchdowns. And if he is going to be in the backfield by himself against the Jets, I don't see why you would sit him.
Go ahead.
You're right. My bad.
It's the fresh cut. It's the fresh
ahead.
cut, Joe. That's all. That's why.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Week 13, the final week of many fantasy football leagues regular seasons, and we are here to bring you what you need within the Indecision Cave. I'm your host, Ryan Grace, and I'm joined by the awesome team of analysts. We got our commissioner who's making a crazy run. Ashton, what's going on, man?
Yo, it's good. We trying to get to second place, man. Holla at your boy.
We got Justin, who's still trailblazing first place.
It's just another week, man. That's it.
We got Rashawn, who's cursing everyone in the league out on a week-by-week basis, hoping to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, you know, I'm trying to sneak my way in.
And the man who tried to make trade deadline deals, but none happened, Mr. Last Place. Joe, how are you, sir?
I didn't try to make any trades recently.
Oh.
Yeah, but I will say I'm in last place this week, but come next week, that could change. Stay tuned.
There you go. We will we'll follow up as we get to the playoffs to see where Trader Joe landed. Folks, as we've done the last few weeks, we're just going to get into our start and sit segment. Yeah, we see the trophy, Joe. We're going to get to our start and sit segment, and we're just going to each give our start, go around the table, kind of give our thumbs up or thumbs down, and then we'll do our sit. So we're going to lead off with Justin. Justin, who are you thinking about starting this week?
This week, I would say y'all definitely got to start Brandin Cooks. A lot of it has to do with the recent news about Will Fuller being suspended for the season. So that takes away one of Deshaun's favorite targets. On top of that, Cooks and Deshaun have seemed to get some type of like chemistry recently, as we saw on Thanksgiving. He put up 13 points. Given it was the Lions, but, you know, he still put up 13 points. He had 85 yards on 5 catches. Week before that against New England, he had 4 receptions for 85 yards. His average has been about average 19 yards per catch. Now that he's going to have to get more looks from Will Fuller being out, I think he's a solid option to start.
All right, fellas, we're going to go around the table. Joe, are you okay with starting Brandin Cooks this week?
Yeah, I like it. Also, I remember the fact they either dropped Kenny Stills or Randall Cobb. Which was it?
Kenny Stills.
Right.
Cobb is on IR.
Right. So, you know, even less options to throw. So I like it.
Yeah, I agree. I had a really good chance of making a little bit of a run, and he was going to be a real key component of that. And now I'm pretty much out of it, but Brandin Cooks has played well since I signed him off the free agent list, and we're just probably looking at keeping him, honestly, depending on what the Texans do with their roster construct moving forward. So I think he's definitely going to have another big week, and we'll see if he's a whaler for more than this week. Rashawn, are you starting Brandin Cooks this week?
Yeah, I'm starting him. I think Deshaun Watson, you know, like Joe said and Justin said, there's not many options for Deshaun. So I think he's going to force feed him the ball, try to get him as many touches as he can. And I think the offense coordinator tries to find a way to get Brandin Cooks involved. So I think we're going to see a heavy dose of Brandin Cooks.
There you have it. Ashton, assuming you're good with this, am I right? There we have it. We're going to move on. We're going to stick with you, Ashton, so we can hear your voice. Who are you starting this week, man?
So when we were talking a couple minutes ago, I said I want to start Allen Robinson, but I'm going to switch that up. But I'm going to stay on the Bears. And I'm going to stay on a team that is first in the league of giving up points to this particular position, and that's the running back position. And last week we saw David Montgomery actually play very well in the backfield, 11 carries, 100 yards. He played well. And so I think this is a game where he can continue to steamroll and show that he alone should own that backfield and kind of make a name for himself. A lot of people have been disappointed at him from a fantasy standpoint. I know 2 years ago I drafted him in another league thinking, all right, all this preseason talk of this guy being really good. We didn't see it last year. We haven't seen it to this point this year, except for a couple of anomalies here and there. But I don't think last week was a fluke. I think he's back. I think he's healthy. I think he plays an easy matchup against the Detroit Lions. They give up 28.2 points to the running back position. So, I mean, for someone who just came up and had 25 points and he didn't get a running touchdown, but one thing we did see is we saw him catch some passes out of the backfield, 5 receptions, 40 yards, and a touchdown. So he's adding another kind of weapon to his arsenal, which sounds really good. So really good, really good. So I'm gonna go with David Montgomery in his second year. I think he's trying to show that he's worth his spot in the league. So David Montgomery.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it last week, right? Like the Packers, they pretty much outmanned the Bears from start to finish in all facets, and they've given up big run games. Jonathan Taylor revitalized his fantasy season. Dalvin Cook went for 40+ fantasy points. But in general, like I thought we were going to be able to slow down David Montgomery, but he broke like a 75-yard run to start the game, or pretty early in the game. He was carving the Packers defense up, and I think with Trubisky trying to get his rhythm back, he didn't look comfortable really throwing the ball to anyone other than Allen Robinson. He targeted Darnell Mooney a fair amount, but it was like Robinson and Montgomery were the whole offense, and I think until Trubisky shows anything, that Montgomery is going to be a focal point in the offense again, and I like that. Justin, are you okay with starting David Montgomery this week?
I mean, it is Detroit. He did have a good performance, but it's still David Montgomery, and Detroit is switching up play calling and getting everything together in the back office and coordinators. I feel like it's one of those trap games where new coaches come in and the team just like feels motivated to play. So I would sit David Montgomery
Against the worst rush defense in the league.
He said what he said.
I don't know. I kind of agree with Just though, because when players lose, when coaches are out, players tend to play differently. Prime example, look at the Falcons. They may not be winning as much games, but they're playing different. They're playing at a different level than they were with their previous head coach. I don't know the Lions defense is trash, so it's a toss up for me. I think I'll start him.
Joe, are you starting or sitting David Montgomery this week?
Yes. Mainly because he's one of the few running backs left in this league where he essentially has the backfield to himself. So I'll take that opportunity every time. So I would start him.
There you have it. Rashawn, we're going to keep with the theme of running backs. And I believe that you had a running back you wanted to start this week, yes?
Yes, I'm going to start Devontae Booker. Josh Jacobs tweaked his ankle last week, and he didn't practice today. So I don't see him touching the field, and if he does, it's going to be a limited role. We all know ankle injuries for running backs can be tough. But Devontae Booker didn't do too well last week or the week before, but week 10, he had 2 touchdowns, 81 yards rushing. Week before that, 68 yards rushing and a touchdown. And they're going against the Jets. The Jets their defense is worse than the Lions, so. I think Devontae Booker is going to be in for a big game against the Jets.
Justin, I see that smile. I also know that you've been singing Booker's praise for the last few weeks, man. It's the Jets, but is that the only reason you're starting Booker, or you think he's ready to kind of turn the corner a little bit?
From this season, when you give Booker looks, he produces. Kansas City, first game they played, he had 7 carries, 62 yards. Chargers, 8 carries, 68. Denver, 16 for 81, 2 touchdowns. And if he's going to be in the backfield by himself against the Jets, I don't see why you would sit him.
I like to hear that. Ashton, are you okay with starting Devontae Booker this week?
Yeah, I mean, the Jets defense gives up only 18.4, so a smooth 10 less, even though Justin said no to a better starting running back, but I digress, but I agree with Rashawn's start.
And Joe,
Situational, man.
I don't love it as a previous Booker owner when he was with the Broncos, and he let me down a lot. But you guys already set up the situation. It's ideal. So it gets the Jets. The Derek Carr offense has definitely improved, and he's performed. So, yeah, he should be fine.
go. Joe, we're gonna throw to you now. Who do you plan on starting this week?
Both of my players from my starting set are on the Eagles. I know them very intimately. Dallas Goedert is my start. He's the tight end for the Eagles. I know that Ertz is slotted to play this week, but don't let that scare you, because in my eyes, those are the only true throwing options that Carson Wentz has, and they're going to be playing from behind a lot against Ryan's Packers, who are just, playing outstanding football right now. So the reason why I wouldn't be scared of Ertz coming back, and why I say they are the only two options, because I don't think he trusts the wide receivers. I believe Alshon is cooked. Jalen, you saw the miscue last week where they did a screen and he just did like a streak route. Like he still got some wrinkles. He's still got some picking up of the offense to do. Fulgham, he's not who we thought he was. He's not bad from what we've seen recently, but he's not that elite option that we thought he could have been. So I think that Carson is really going to have to rely on his tight ends, and the fact to lean into my sit. Miles Sanders isn't catching the ball. Like his drops. It's just we've seen this. We haven't seen it this bad before. So
Joe,
talk to me.
Don't try to double up and do your starts at the same time. I gotta vote your start first. Let me vote your
Please,
start first.
and you can start off the vote. You can start with the vote there, Ace.
I don't know if I agree with it. The Packers, they're pretty tough against the tight end. I think they average around like 5.6 points to tight ends on the year. So that scares me. I mean, in a year where the tight end position really is just Travis Kelce, just on a consistent basis, I feel like I'm gonna pull a Mahan if you have someone better.
But like you said, it's only Kelce this year. Who's going to be better?
Exactly. So I'm gonna say, yeah, just because it's Dallas, but it's a tough matchup, man. It's tough, and when I say like start him, I'm expecting maybe 10 points, and that's big for a tight end. Crazy enough.
Yeah, I think with the way tight ends are playing this year, 10 would be nice. Dallas Goedert against the Packers, I'm okay with starting him, right? And I think mostly because Carson, like you're saying, Joe, he's the option, right? And so that means even if there are some bad throws or some interceptions or deflected passes, when you force feed, like he's gonna end up with, I'd venture and guess like 5 catches minimum, right? And so you get 5 catches, maybe one goes for a decent amount of yards. You're looking probably at like a 5-catch, 50-yard day at worst. I'll take 10 points, right? And if he can find a way to turn one of those into a score, he's back around the 17-ish number that he was this past week against the Seahawks. So I'm actually okay with it. I'm interested to see who the Packers are going to put on him. Darnell Savage was really, really good in coverage this past week against Chicago. So it could be an interesting matchup. If he ends up with a linebacker on him, I think Goddard goes for a pretty solid day, talking 15 points minimum kind of thing. So I'm in on Goddard. Just Blaze.
Just question for the Eagle fans. Was Ertz playing the first 2 weeks of the season for y'all?
Yes.
Yes.
So those 2 weeks, Goddard had 9 targets and 8 targets. And then these past 2 weeks without Ertz, he had 6 targets and 10 targets. Past 2 games, he's averaged 6 catches, 76 yards, and a touchdown. I'm going with it.
Wait. Okay, you already asked the question. I thought there was more to it. I thought you were leading to a bigger question. But got you.
Rashawn, how do you feel about this?
I'm actually torn because I feel like the only person that I trust on the Eagles is Darius Slay, and he just, on Monday he gave up like 150 yards to DK. But I don't know.
Wait. But that helped you win your game.
I know, but that's besides the point.
He just wanted to throw that in there.
That's besides the point.
Stay on topic, Rex.
I do not know what the Eagles' offense is doing right now. They don't know if they want to play Jalen Hurts. They don't know if they want to play Carson Wentz. They don't know if they want to play Ryan Grace at quarterback. They don't know.
Viable option.
But I personally think the Green Bay Packers defense is a little bit better than the Seahawks defense. And I think it's going to be a tough outing for Goddard. But like Ashton said, and to quote the great Mahan, if you don't have anybody better, start him. Start him. But I mean, sure, why not? I mean, last 2 games he did pretty decent. Last game he did great, and the game before that he did decent. So he gets the nod for me. I mean, I have Travis Kelce, so I really don't care to start him or not. So
well done.
I don't care.
There you go.
There you have it.
And then everyone voted, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so go ahead. I'm sorry.
He wants to stay on his sit. He wants to hog it up. So go ahead. Go ahead.
You're right. My bad.
It's the fresh cut. It's the fresh cut Joe. That's all. That's why.
Go ahead.
Stay with the Eagles. Stay with the
is
Eagles.
feeling himself.
Yeah, go ahead. Stay with the Eagles. We got you. Go ahead.
No, next segment. You can take us in the break if you need to.
Well, I haven't given my start yet, if that's okay.
That is. Okay.
We're fine. We're fine with that.
Yeah, so we're going to stick with the topic of tight ends here, as I plan on starting Evan Engram this week, pretty much for two reasons. I think Colt McCoy will be more comfortable than Colt McCoy and the boys. Will be more comfortable this week than he was last week, but I think that still leans itself. I'm big in that adjustment period, throwing you a slot receiver, throwing you a tight end. Engram had a pretty solid week this past week. And Seattle's defense, despite having good linebackers, is pretty rough in coverage of those linebackers. Those linebackers are pretty rough in coverage. Dallas Goedert this past week, 10 targets, 7 catches, 75 yards, and a touchdown. I look at Engram in a similar vein as a nice, strong receiving tight end. And so I'm going with Evan Engram this week as my start, squaring off against the Seattle Seahawks. Joe, are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. Rashawn, I know you have the leader of all tight ends, but are you okay with that?
I mean, my only issue is Colt McCoy and the boys. I don't. I'd rather have Carson Wentz over Colt McCoy. Sorry, I'd rather have Jalen Hurts over Colt McCoy. I'll probably have Sam Darnold over Colt McCoy too.
Damn.
I don't know,
Would
man.
you have Mitch Trubisky over Colt McCoy?
I would. I'll probably have PJ Walker over Colt McCoy. To be honest, that's probably the real one. I don't know. I mean, last week he did great. 6 receptions, 129 targets. But the week before,
129 targets?
No, I said yards.
Oh.
I said targets.
It sounded like targets. That would be insane. I would love to see a game like that.
Playing Madden on 24.
Right.
Minutes.
You hit A, just keep hitting A.
But no, week 10, he only had 2 receptions for 15 yards against the Eagles. So I don't know. I feel like he's been having like a up and down year. But it is Seattle, so whatever. He gets to start for me, I guess. He's not Travis Kelce, so I don't really care.
That's true. He's not. Ashton, are you okay with that?
Where are they playing?
Seattle, bruh.
So the defense will be sleepless, and Evan Engram will ball out. So yes, I agree.
Sleepless in Seattle reference, ladies and gentlemen. Justin, you are disgusted, but
yeah, go with. The only thing is, Colt McCoy. That's the only issue I have with it. I definitely think PJ Walker should be starting for somebody next year, so that's another story. But
yes,
yeah,
sir.
Who?
The Eagles.
I'm not saying who. I'm just saying he should be starting. He's a quality.
Maybe the 49ers. Maybe the 49ers.
Somebody. But yeah, go Ingram.
I like it. Perfect. Well, we're going to hit this commercial break, and when we come back, we're going to lead off with Joe, who's eager to tell everyone who he's sitting in Week 13 in the Indecision Cave. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indecision Cave show. We are getting ready for Week 13. And like we teased before the commercial break, Joe, you're up, man. Who are you sitting this week?
Okay, it's the starting running back for the Eagles. It is Mr. Sanders. And let me just give you in a 4-point PPR league how many points he's gotten since week 6. So week 6, 12. Then he was hurt. Against the Giants, 13 points. Against the Browns, 9 points. And against the Seahawks this past week, 6 points. So he definitely hasn't lit your roster up on fire, period. But I think it's just going to stay at this bottom level probably for a minute. So our right tackle, Lane Johnson, one of the best tackles in football, he's done for the season. Jordan Mailata, he's still growing, but he's our left tackle. Like, he's only played football legit. This is his first year playing a NFL season. And our center, Jason Kelce, is banged up, one of the best centers in football. And you have to have a good line to run the ball. And that's all he's doing well this year. He's definitely regressed in pass catching. If you're watching the game, he's dropping balls for some reason. And I'm hearing, because you don't pay attention to everything during every play, but I'm also hearing that he's struggling in pass protection. You add all those things on top of facing Ryan's Packers, who are performing well on offense right now. I think we're going to be playing from behind, and they're probably going to rely more on Boston Scott when it comes to third down options. So I'm not excited about Miles Sanders, who I think is still a good running back. But when you add the offensive struggles of Wentz, who constantly we're having a lot of 3 and outs because he's getting sacked and he's turning the ball over, with interceptions. Like, you can't have too many good options on a team who just can't stay on the field. On top of not the best matchup, who we're probably going to have to pass a lot, and right now that's not his strong suit. So I'm sitting Miles Sanders, running back for the Eagles.
So I'm gonna weigh in, and I don't think I agree, and it's weird because I don't know if I exactly feel confident starting Sanders with all of the reasons that you said, but I think sitting him against the Packers is a bad decision, sort of, right? Like, maybe any other defense you sit him against based on some of the struggles that you've described, but we've seen Dalvin Cook revitalize his season, right? Like 40-point games, things that you don't see often. We see Jonathan Taylor go for 28.5 fantasy points. We see David Montgomery rush for over 100 yards. It's just like, and I mean, it's been going on for the last 2 years, right? Under the LaFleur regime. Raheem Mostert breaks rushing records in the playoffs. Like, I think if you have a quality running back against this Green Bay defense, there's going to be holes and there's going to be openings. And I think that they might fall behind, right, against the Packers. The offense is clicking. but I still think that you feed him the ball, he's going to find success. And part of the way to subdue an offense is to not let them be on the field. So you have a bell cow workhorse running back like Miles Sanders. You feed him the rock. He's going to find holes. He's going to gain yards. And I think he has a pretty successful day. Justin, my apologies. I didn't mean to overlook what Ronald Jones did to the Packers also. So, yeah, the Packers defense is definitely susceptible to the run. And so, Joe, I think any other week I'd be on your side with this one. But I'm probably starting Sanders against the Packers. Justin, your thoughts?
Yeah, start him. I feel like it's one of those things where they'll have like one or two breakout plays, and that'll like pad the stats for him. So just give him a shot. Start him.
Ashton?
I am going to agree with, I don't know yet, but I will say a couple of things. One, Ryan, you are right. The Packers are third worst in stopping the run, giving up a total of 24.7 points. So I do think there is opportunity for an Eagles running back to do well. I just don't think it's Miles Sanders. And I know recently he's had issues with fumbling in the red zone as well, so that takes away from touchdown looks at the goal line. If there's a running back that I think might do well, it's Boston Scott. This past week he had 6 targets to Miles Sanders 3. He turned those 6 targets into 5 receptions for 40 yards. Miles Sanders had 2 receptions for 7, rushed the ball 6 times for 15 yards. Carson Wentz rushed it 5 for 42. He's becoming a shadow in our offense, and he's struggling mightily. And so I think, yes, we believe in him, but he's not producing, and we have running backs that can produce. So I think we lean more on Boston Scott this week. So I think Boston Scott might be a sleeper start, but I don't see Miles Sanders picking that back up, unfortunately.
I think you would break the tie. We're 2-2, 2 sits, 2 starts.
I know in the last previous take when I said the only Eagles player that I trust is Darius Slay, I take that back. There's 2 people on the Eagles that I trust. And that's the coordinator who said that DK is nowhere near Megatron. Those are the 2 people that I trust. No, but I don't know. I think I'm starting Miles Sanders. Just because, like Ryan said, if you want to keep Aaron Rodgers off the field, you got to have time possession. I think the Eagles are they're gonna run the ball. Once again, we don't know what they're gonna do on offense because the offense is, we don't know where they're going in that direction. But I think only way to keep Aaron Rodgers off the field is to hold on to the ball. And when you have Miles Sanders, you're gonna force feed him the ball. So I'm going to start. And the Packers defense, they let Dalvin cook. They let Jonathan Taylor, go off. So I think I'm starting Miles Sanders.
And just a quick stat. So Miles Sanders had 15 rushing yards. He had 1 rush for 8 yards. So that means he had 5 rushes and got a whopping 7 yards out of 5 carries. That's abysmal.
Against a bad Seahawks defense, too.
Yeah, Boston Scott took 2 carries to get 7 yards. So it's just like it's really not looking good for Miles right now. It's really not. And I think more than anything else, I think it's a confidence thing at this point versus talent.
He's getting a nod for me. I mean,
Ashton, we're gonna keep it. We're gonna keep it in the division, I believe. We're gonna throw to you. Who are you sitting this week?
So I forgot who I wanted to sit. No, I am going to sit another running back, and he's been doing. Let's put it like this. He's not giving you the draft value that you've been looking for, period. It's similar to when Todd Gurley got his big deal. He was hurt, so we understood that. So you're expecting big things out of this guy, and you get let down with 2.7 points. And that's Ezekiel Elliott. Their O-line is completely banged up, injured across the board. And similar to what Carson Wentz is seeing with a horrible offensive line, it might be what's attributing to Miles Sanders not playing well. Zeke is facing the same thing, and he's getting outplayed by his backup, Tony Pollard. It looks like they want to throw the rock. It looks like they're going to be a pass-heavy team. I don't see Zeke having any impact in the passing game. So I don't know how you can get points off of points per reception if you're in a PPR league. The talent is there. The burst that I usually see from Ezekiel Elliott isn't there. Once again, I see that more with Tony Pollard. I'm just going to go on the edge, and I'm going to sit Zeke this week. And it's weird because if you have him on your team, you're going to start him because of his name. But if you were to compare him to anyone else and just took away the name, you're going to immediately say, hey, I'm going to sit this guy and I don't trust him, right? You might start, if you're looking at Devin Singletary's stats, you might start him over Zeke if you didn't know who the names were. So I'm going to sit Ezekiel Elliott this week.
Wow. That might be the hottest take we have. I mean, obviously you can understand with some of his performance, but that's a big one. Sitting household name Ezekiel Elliott. Joe, are you okay with that?
Who's he playing against again? The Ravens. Ooh. Before I saw that, I was going to say start him. I think Lamar Jackson should be back. Not that Lamar Jackson is who he was last year, but he'll keep a serviceable offense and should help to keep the Cowboys off the field. Yeah, I'm fine with this.
I'm gonna hop in. I'm not the Ezekiel Elliott owner in the Indecision Cave, but I do happen to own him in another league. And through the first 6 weeks, Zeke was absolutely killing, right? Like his lowest output was 14 points. Then he had one that was 17.8, and then everything else was above 20 points. And I have a few enhancers in that league, but still, like he was crushing. Since week 7, in week 7, 8, and 9, 6.1 points, 8.3 points, 8.9 points. He had a bye week. In week 11 against Minnesota, I decided to sit him, 20 points. Week 12 against the Washington football team, 3.9 points. It has been just a terrible guessing game with him. And so I'm actually okay with it. Like Joe said, he's facing a really strong Ravens defense, and he's been unpredictable. And I want to start him because he's my first round draft pick. But it's really tough right now. And so I'm going to take Ashton's advice with the start and sit, and I'm going to bench Zeke this week.
And if it helps anyone out there, the Ravens are the 4th hardest team to run against with 14.7 points to average for running backs. So
I'm curious, Ryan, who are your other RB options in that league
So
that you're actually benching him for?
Yep. So in that particular league, I start James Robinson, and then I'm hoping James Conner comes back. And I also have Devin Singletary, who played really well this past week. So I'm in a position where like it's definitely not ideal to sit Ezekiel Elliott, but if James Conner comes back, if James Conner has a full bill of health and is ready for Tuesday, I'm definitely sitting Zeke. If you told me that I have to decide between Zeke and Devin Singletary, I'll probably try to analyze the matchups a little bit better and dive into it. But I'm telling you, these last few weeks have just been hectic. I was blowing my opponent out in spite of Zeke this week, right? Like 3.9 points from your RB1 is not going to get it done. James Robinson, he could be an RB1 kind of thing. I'm not splitting hairs there, but like whatever. Your starting running backs can't give you 4 points. So bad. Rashawn, are you okay with sitting Ezekiel Elliott?
So I am the owner of Zeke in our league. And they are playing he's going against the Ravens. But Miles Sanders did have one of his best game against the Ravens. 9 attempts for 118 yards. And you guys said, Ashton, you said you're going to sit Miles Sanders. You don't trust him. But if Miles Sanders can go off for 118 yards against the Ravens, and Zeke is better than Miles Sanders, and I know the O-line is banged up. He doesn't have Dak. But once again, the Ravens offense is the Ravens offense. So I think the Cowboys are going to have more time of possession with the ball. So, and I think Zeke has a decent game. I think he gets 10 points. So I'm starting Zeke.
also, just real fast, because stats can be very, very much blinding. the reason why Miles Sanders did well is because he had one breakout touchdown for 74 yards.
I thought so.
E-
And
e-
he has
even
that burst.
so. Even so, it's still 118 yards. Again,
Yeah, but he has
the
that
Ravens
burst
run
that
defense.
Zeke doesn't have that burst that Miles has right now.
Justin, I think again, are you going to be the one to break the tie? Oh wait, Joe, did you start? Did you start Zeke?
He said, I'm the only one that started him.
Well,
Yep.
Stan, you're his owner. Justin, are you starting or sitting Zeke?
Yeah, we got to sit Zeke, man. I don't know what it is. I think he's at this point just collecting his paycheck. He not really putting in the effort like he should, like we know him to put in. He came off the bye week and looked refreshed, but prior to that, he slacked. And then the Thanksgiving game, where it's his showcase, he did a bunch of nothing. So yeah, I think we could sit him again. See what's up.
So we're sitting Zeke. Rashawn, I know you're on the cusp of making the playoffs. Hopefully this Ezekiel Elliott decision is more in your favor than detrimental to your success as you get ready for the big Week 13 matchup. Rashawn, we're gonna stick with you. Who are you sitting this week?
So I'm sitting Amari Cooper.
Wow.
Yeah. Marcus Peters will be on him. He's going to be guarding him. I think he's going to have a tough matchup. Once again, Andy Dalton isn't Andy Dalton from the days where, he had AJ Green looking like Adrian Green wasn't out there just running cardio. So I think Marcus Peters shuts down Amari Cooper.
Justin, we're gonna come right back to you, man. Is Amari gonna just cash a paycheck this week, or is he gonna ball out?
Nah, he's definitely not gonna ball out. Yeah, that's the Andy Dalton factor, and I think they're giving CD a lot more looks, and he's been more productive than his counterpart wide receiver. So yeah, I don't mind saying him.
Joe?
Does anyone have his profile up about how he's done over the past couple of weeks? Because I thought he was doing fine.
I faced him this past week, and he had more than 20 points for sure.
Okay. Now I definitely believe Marcus Peters is a good cornerback. I just know him not to be consistent, so I'm not really scared of him. He definitely can be had. So I'm gonna say start Amari Cooper.
Ashton, start or sit Amari Cooper?
So just looking at recent stats.
Wait, wouldn't it be Humphrey that's on him?
Both of them are outside. Both of them are outside.
But Cooper plays a mix of inside and outside, right?
That's CD. No?
Well, they have three. Jimmy Smith got hurt today, but we'll see. But they have three.
They do have three.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Well, go ahead.
So if there's targets there's opportunity, right? And so the past 2 weeks with Dalton back, he's had 7 targets and 8 targets. I think he's a safety blanket. CeeDee Lamb has had 6 and 7 targets. So it looks like he's looking more of Amari Cooper's way by a smaller amount. Like there's not a huge gap between, but both these guys are going to get a lot of looks. Marcus Peters isn't the shutdown corner that we once knew him for. He gambles a lot. I think Amari Cooper is a solid route runner. And for a team that's probably going to be throwing the ball a lot, I think they throw to their safety blanket, and I think that's Amari Cooper. So I would personally start Amari Cooper. Just trying to do a quick look at stats. I think the past 2 weeks he's been balling. Amari Cooper had 23.2 points this past week, 14.1, 12.5. Not bad. He'll be my receiver 2, right? Receiver 2, receiver 3 territory.
I'm probably going to start Amari Cooper if I had him this week too. I think he is like the safety and the comfort blanket, and he's their number one. So I think they're a team that's going to fall behind and have to throw the ball a little bit. So I'm okay with starting Amari Cooper this week. I'm going to go next, and the player that I'm sitting this week is T. Higgins. T. Higgins and the Cincinnati Bengals are are facing the Miami Dolphins, who have just been a really, really good defense the last few weeks. And I've told you guys a bunch of times that I play in a league with a full defensive roster. And so the last 3 weeks, Xavier Howard, who will likely be defending Higgins, has put up 20 points, 27 points, and 26 points back-to-back weeks. Against the Chargers, 2 passes defended. Against the Broncos, 2 passes defended. Against the Jets last week, 3 passes defended, and an interception in each of those 3 weeks. He's playing really, really good football, shutdown corner football. And even if T. Higgins is lined up against Byron Jones, that's not a name to slouch on. But I'm assuming Xavier Howard is kind of gonna stick with him and follow him around a little bit. Joe Burrow is obviously not playing. Wish him a speedy recovery. So it doesn't matter who the Bengals decide to have under center. I think T. Higgins, being a young guy, having a bad matchup this week and having not a great quarterback. I think a week or 2 ago when Ashton was kind of on his high about him, I said he's pretty much like you have to start this guy just from volume and love. I didn't know Joe Burrow was going to be done for the season, and so I'm going to adjust that for this week, and I'm sitting T. Higgins against the Miami Dolphins. Ashton, you okay with that?
He went from 9 targets to 10 targets to this past week, 5 targets. And Xavier Howard is no one to mess with. The Miami defense is no defense to mess with. Unfortunately, I have to start him because Will Fuller wanted to get suspended for 6 games. But outside of that, I would sit him if I had better options.
Justin, are you sitting T. Higgins this week?
Saying T. Higgins, I'm saying Tyler Boyd. It's not looking good for that Cincinnati offense. They still using Giovanni Bernard. Joe Mixon's out. Miami's defense. It's a lot of factors, but yeah, I agree with you.
AJ Green's getting cardio. You forgot that part.
That too.
Joe, safe to assume you're sitting T. Higgins?
Yeah, definitely. I don't believe in the quarterback play at all. I mean, that's the biggest factor. You got someone who can't throw accurate football consistently, and then you add that on top of a tough defense. That's just a terrible formula. And they don't even have, like you guys were saying, Joe Mixon there to rely on to keep the offense rolling. Like, he's not even there. I definitely support this hit.
Sean?
He's right in that bench.
There it is. Rex, have we gone to you on who you're sitting this week yet?
It's Just Blaze you missed.
Just Blaze is who I missed. Just Blaze. Who are you sitting this week, sir?
We're going to keep it brief, man. That good old faithful Matt Ryan. Put him on the bench. They are playing the Saints. Y'all saw what they did 2 weeks ago to him. Lots of sacks, lots of pressures. That's not what Matt Ryan likes. This past week, they put up 43 on the Raiders, but he only had 2 touchdowns. He still threw an interception, and he only had 185 yards. I'm not trusting him.
Joe, are you sitting Matt Ryan?
Julio Jones, he didn't play this last week, right?
Right.
And do we know if he's slotted to play this week?
Probably not.
Because from what I understand, there's pretty much the night and day difference between when Julio plays and how Matt Ryan performs. You know, big surprise there, right? So you know, I would keep an eye on Julio Jones. I might be okay with starting Matt Ryan, but it depends on how healthy. It can't be like a game time decision with Julio, because the thing with Julio is he can give you yak, like that'll boost the stats there. You give him a slant, he can take it to the house and give you 80 yards in one play. But overall, I'm fine with the sit.
I think I'm perfectly fine with sitting Matt Ryan, and like I said last week when we were talking about Cam Newton, it was less about how good he is. It's just more about, do I have 12 guys that I can start over him? And so I think with or without Julio Jones, facing the Saints this week, that's such a formidable defense. I think there are better options at quarterback. So I'm out on Matt Ryan this week. I think Justin has it to a T. Rashawn, are you sitting Matt Ryan?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, I'm sitting Matt Ryan. One, he's a Falcon, so I don't like any Falcons player aside from Julio Jones. But yeah, he's riding that bench for me.
Ashton, you gonna be different, or are you sitting Matt Ryan?
Natty ice cold on my bench.
Another quality pun. Thank you. Well, folks, this is the last week of the regular season, at least within our league. You know who to start and who to sit. We wish you the best of luck as you get close to your playoffs. Ashton's competing to try to get a bye. Justin's trying to maintain his lead to keep a bye. Rashawn's knocking down the door to get into the playoffs. Joe and I are just going to eat our popcorn and enjoy the show. We wish you all the best of luck as you get close to the end of your seasons. Thank you for joining us within the Indecision Cave.